Another week behind us, a whole new Speedway conversation to be had. Welcome back to 360 Speedway. Hello everyone, how are you? Hope you're healthy and well. Once again, thanks for your support and for helping to get us back up and running in 2026. It is good to be back. Right then, we are already on 2 minutes, no time to waste, as we have a big interview as promised that you will all be very keen to watch and listen to. So let's get ourselves up to tapes. First of all, let's introduce this week's Speedway Punditry Excellence, as I call it. Once again, we're running with rider replacement this week. First up this week, making his 2026 debut on 360 Speedway, one of the sport's nice guys. That's what he says anyway. Brings us some real insight week on week. Let's welcome back the no-nonsense Lambo, Simon Lambert. Good evening to you, Simon.
Good evening, everyone.
Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Next up this week, and completing this week's lineup as an ever-present so far in 2026, he's ridden with and against the best. One-time British final runner-up, no less. Welcome back. It's Robbo. Welcome back, Stuart Robson. Hey, Stuart.
Good evening, Derek. Good evening, everyone.
Good to see you, Stuart. Okay, here we go. If you're ready, let's begin then. We know that you appreciate our efforts to bring you, as often as we can, some interviews with current or former riders, team managers, promoters and personalities around the sport. Undoubtedly, however, there is one area of British Speedway which, probably more than any other, all Speedway fans will be keenest to hear about. That is the BSPL itself. 360 Speedway are delighted to be able to address that tonight on episode 3, with thanks to Mr. Lambert for his powers of persuasion, as we welcome a bit of a chat with Scunthorpe Speedway club owner and promoter, and the chairman, no less, of the BSPL. Good evening and welcome to 360 Speedway, Mr. Rob Godfrey. Good evening, Rob.
Good evening, Derek. Where's this big interview that's coming? Who's doing it? Don't know what you're on about.
Well, that all depends on you, Rob Godfrey.
Big build up. What's happening? Do I know something happened I don't know about?
Rob, listen, I'm sure we did a bit of guessing on Facebook, and your name popped up a few times as someone that supporters would most like to hear from and you know have some airtime with. So, Rob, listen, first and foremost, just before we get underway, a sincere thank you for agreeing to step in to the 360 Speedway hot seat. Thanks to agreeing also to some extended talk time. We're likely to have an hour or so of Rob's time. We're probably going to split the interview with Rob into 2 segments. So please make sure, watchers and listeners, that you pick up both parts of our interview with Rob. We have much to try and run through. Make yourself comfortable, buckle yourselves in. Let's get underway. Rob, first things first. I don't want to flatter myself by thinking that you are an avid viewer of 360, but if you've seen any of it, hopefully you will have gleaned that we're all friendly, we're all lifelong Speedway fans. We only want the best for the sport. Yes, now and again we pick up and add some critique to certain areas, and but by and large we only want the best for the sport. As you might expect, Rob, we over the 9 or 10 months that 360 Speedway has been up and running, we have received floods and floods of comments from concerned Speedway fans and loyal Speedway fans who, there was some anxiety over the winter months with AGM, etc., etc. There's a whole barrage of different topics and different questions, Rob, which you hopefully would expect me to put to you tonight. So I know there might be, in some areas, some sensitivities that might prevent you from giving a fulsome answer, but nonetheless, I do want to put as many tough questions to you as possible tonight, Rob, and we'll see how many of those that you can pick off for us. So I just want to put you on a warning, Rob. I'm going to poke some sticks into quite a few corners, and but at the end, Rob, I promise you, at the end, we will all finish up tonight in a friendly place and probably feel the benefit from having had the conversation. So, Rob Godfrey, are you ready?
I'm ready. Fire
Thank you,
away.
Rob. Thank you. Right, Rob, listen, I've tried to group some of these questions under different themes. So the first thing I wanted to ask is about change in Speedway. And I don't know until we have this conversation what your personal appetite is or what the appetite is of the BSPL to adopt change. But my first question, Rob, is are the BSPL in any sense afraid of change? And what I mean by that, Rob, is something that would potentially change the direction of the sport from the current path, because unless you strongly disagree, it doesn't feel to outside looking in that the current path is proven to be completely fruitful for us in terms of numbers of clubs and crowd levels and inward sponsorship and that good stuff. So in terms of change, Rob, are the BSPL afraid of positive change?
No, not at all. And if we look at today, I mean, looking at the sport today, there's still a lot of things happening behind the scenes to make the sport better. I mean, you'll have heard of Speedway Futures, which was set up to take the sport forward from a commercial point of view and to get investors to come on board. That is gathering pace. That's been ongoing for a year or so. Obviously, it's not open to the public to know what's going on with that because it's people basically working behind the scenes with people like Harry Redknapp and I can't remember the other guy that just brought on board. It's a project to take us forward, and everyone wants to go forward. I can assure you, every single promoter that makes up the BSPL wants to go forward. We want the sport to survive ultimately, but we want the sport to grow again, and that's all. That's everyone's aim. You know, it is little steps, but there is, as I say, you know, we talk of the number of clubs. It's not a given that there's only 5 clubs in the Premiership at this time. There could be 6. You know, that is a real possibility. There's positive things happening behind the scenes there with Phil Morris, etc. Who's doing an awful lot of hard work behind the scenes to get another club. I believe we're about 90% there with another club to make up the Premiership. So, you know, yeah, you're talking about the negatives, but there's still some positives to come from this year. And certainly futures is another positive. And change, we will accept change. We want change. We want, you know, everyone invests, every single promoter that makes up the BSPL, because we are a collective. We all invest in it. We all put money into our business, but we all want our business to grow. And we want, you know, we know that we could change, but there's a little bit that you've got the traditionalists that don't want change, and then you don't want to upset them because you want to change. But I think with futures, things will change because we'll be driven by a different set of people that want to take us on a journey and emulate Poland. So. Yes, I think I've answered that question in as many terms as I possibly can. And to simplify it, yes, we do want change, and yes, we are prepared to change, but we want the right change, and we don't want to lose our traditionalists as well. There is a balance.
Yeah. No, listen, I think that's a fair and reasonable answer, Rob. And you know, I appreciate there's some sensitivities that you can't share beyond what you have already. But I think supporters will feel some reassurance that you're nodding and affirming that, you know, change is afoot, and change, the right forms of change would be embraced by the sport. Another thing, Rob, which and this has been a recurring thing throughout my lifetime, and I'm no youngster these days, but you know, I just wanted to socialise this with you and get your reaction to this. And so, you know, on behalf of Speedway fans, there's a lot of desire and a lot of supporters who would, in a heartbeat, vote if they had a vote to install an independent entity to run the sport and take away, as many supporters see it, that some self-interest from you marking your homework type thing when you administer the sport. Could you ever envisage, Rob? Could you ever envisage, as things stand today, and you know, with your finger on the pulse of the views of other club owners, etc. Could you ever envisage a time where we reach a point where the only thing that's open to us as a sport is to hand over the reins to someone else to manage and develop and grow the sport?
Well, we've got it with Speedway Futures. Speedway Futures is that group of people that will invest in the sport and ultimately be the leaders and tell us what we've got to do. We are moving towards that. That is the goal. That is ultimately. As I say, Speedway Futures is. It's not a secret as such. It's on companies' house as such, but that ultimately, that's what Speedway Futures is set up to do: to bring investment in, to take over the sport, to grow it. They grow it, and we do as they say. It's as simple as that. Ultimately, that's what it's about. So independence is that's where that traction will come from Speedway Futures. Once the money's there to grow the sport again. At the minute, you'll appreciate that every single promoter that starts the season thinks, well, am I going to make any money or am I not? And ultimately, we've got to be in control of our own finances. But when this project gets to fruition, and it is growing massively with traction and investors wanting to come on board, ultimately we will have no say. It will be independent, and they will decide what we do and where we go and what we say and everything else. So it's happening. Trust me, it's happening. It's there, and it's not. That bit's not a secret because people know Speedway Futures does exist.
Changes. Well, the one very striking thing from what you said, Robert, and maybe I'm not as well read as I thought that I might be, but I personally had never interpreted that Speedway Futures had that mandate to essentially lead the direction of the sport moving forward. So that's super interesting to know, and that's a big shift change from anything that's gone before, clearly. Yeah,
absolutely. I think this is his third year now, but where it's starting and where it's got. I mean, ultimately, Speedway Futures it's based the Premiership to grow the Premiership to make it look good. I mean, you saw a change in the Premiership last year. Its professionalism was black and white from the year before. That's the influence from Speedway Futures, and that influence grows to investors that want to come and invest in the sport, which there is people that want to come invest in sport. So then, obviously, when the day comes where we have that either it's a single investor or a multiple investor, they will have whatever percentage of the sport, and it will be their sport to tell us what we're going to do. So ultimately, that's pretty much what's going to happen, and it is happening.
Okay.
So.
Rob, again, if you can share something, that would be useful. If you can, I'll understand that. But right here, right now, the Speedway is it understood and accepted within the BSPL that as to what scope or what potential direction Speedway Futures might take the sport? Is there some material, tangible understandings of what change might look like?
Well, change for them is to make us look at this Polish model and grow us to that extent. That is their aim. That is their aim. If a capital investment company want to come on board, they want to see that they could grow Speedway. And as I understand, and I am on the Speedway Futures board, there is investors willing to come in and do that. There is a lot of background work that Speedway Futures have got to do before we can get to that point. But we are getting to that point. You'll see new sponsors come on board this year for the Premiership, etc., etc. And there's, we brought Harry Redknapp on. Without giving too much away, it's happening. It's happening.
Okay. Well, listen. It's super encouraging and really pleasing to hear you talk so confidently about it. So you anticipated one question I was going to ask for, which is when will supporters begin to see some evidence of change? But you mentioned that there might be some new Premiership sponsors coming on board this season.
Yeah, and as I say, our goal is that this year would be Speedway Futures that they consider they would want to change by the end of this year. So that's the goal. There will be some changes by the end of this year.
Okay.
If they can pull it off, we're changing.
Okay. And does the scope, I think the answer might be yes, but I just want you to validate this. Does the scope of Speedway Futures extend to, you touched on sponsorship distinctly, does it extend to helping to raise the national profile of the sport in terms of attracting a new audience potentially?
Yeah, absolutely. It's got the whole mandate, the whole thing. The whole thing is is within their remit and their mandate, and that's what they intend to do. Well, that, as I say, it's all, there's little bits that have got to happen. Investors coming along, putting money into it, putting growth into it, targets, etc., etc. And you know, you got to look at, if you look at Wrexham Football Club, what they've done, it's actually something that we see could happen to Speedway. I know that Wrexham Football is just one club, but for 14 clubs, that's the whole thing, where investors have come in from America, etc., grown it until it's going global now, Wrexham, and that's where I personally see how we could do this and how they could do it. Sorry, because it won't be us, and it's their appetite of. You know, they've invested in, I'm not saying they're the same investors because they're not, but they've invested in Wrexham and they can see the benefits of it long term. Someone will invest in Speedway, looking at the Polish model, the British Speedway, and see the benefits long term. So, but we won't be the same as what we are now.
Thank you, Rob. Robbo, I know that you've got a particular interest and intrigue around the whole Speedway Futures initiative. Are you quite pleasantly encouraged by what you've heard already from Rob?
Yes, I am. I mean, we've kind of figured there would be stuff going on in the background, but because there's been sort of very little sort of released, you know, there's been nothing said about it. We're kind of a bit curious to know what was going on. And as far as like Harry and the MP, is he Philip somebody, isn't it?
Philip Davies.
Yeah. What are their roles within it? Are they just to have as a promotion, like a big name, or is there something else, something specific they do within it?
Well, you know, Harry Redknapp can open doors, and Harry Redknapp has already opened doors. So that's the whole idea, is to bring him on board from a Speedway Futures point of view. He'll get, you know, when the sport has, you know, got its payday sort of thing, he'll take a small percentage and work. Nobody's working for money, they're working for percentage, and they all believe in it. Harry is, as I say, he's instrumental on lots of doors that he has been able to open for Speedway Futures. The other guy, I can't remember what his name, sorry, I do apologise. He's got his own set of skills, and he can open doors for them that way. So the reason that they've come on board is to make that project a success. Yeah, does that answer the question?
Simon, you know Rob much better than the rest of us. Have you ever heard Rob Godfrey talk as positively as this?
After 3 or 4 cans of cider, maybe, yeah. But listen, you know, Rob's probably like the Speedway version of the English Keir Starmer, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't want Rob.
Watch yourself mentioning that man's name on here.
Listen,
hey, because
Rob said many things to me in my life, and nobody listened. Yes. But listen, you got to respect Rob at the end of the day. If we didn't have Rob in charge of doing what he's doing, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing in people's opinion, I wouldn't want his job. We're all happy to sit here and criticise Speedway, to praise Speedway, but if you haven't got a leader, it's tough. I know, obviously, the BSPA, the BSL, whatever they're called, they want what's best for the sport, and obviously I didn't know anything about this Speedway Futures till you just said about it, I'll be honest. So obviously a lot more goes on behind the scenes than people think. Everyone has their opinion, everyone's entitled to their opinion, whether it's a paying customer thinks a rider's a so-and-so because he's had a bad night. We're only human at the end of the day. But yeah, I mean, obviously one question I'll just ask you, Rob, do you believe this year maybe we should have gone one league?
This is a really, really tough one, because Speedway Futures really is, I mean, I've got to admire the Premiership promoters, because, you know, you saw the turmoil that Discovery went through at the end of last year. I mean, selling off streaming service to Netflix and everything, and you know, we were a casualty of that. I think in the future we probably would go back to maybe TNT, but in the short term we've lost a TV contract. And had we, I mean, personally, this is only me personally, and everyone will tell you this, I wanted one league, but the sport at this time needs 2 leagues, and it needs 2 leagues if we're ever going to get investment. So I'm really grateful to the Premiership promoters, because they really had to put their hands in the pockets for this next year and maintain the product, because if you see the teams that are coming out, the product has virtually been maintained from the year before. And that's a testament to every single one of them that's a club owner, because they've lost a significant amount of TV money, as the Championship has as well, but not to the degree that the Premiership has. And to put, they could have gone, we could have gone down to National League level, they could have stayed at our level, but they opted, for the sake of futures, more than anything. I've got to tell you, this is once again futures. They opted to keep basically the status quo. And to keep the product, keep the riders, keep the race days, and stick this out, because they all believe in Speedway futures as well. So that's a good answer for you, isn't it?
Thanks.
Rob, just because we've touched on the potential amalgamation of the leagues, because for many weeks, many months, outside looking in, many supporters, myself included, and you've mentioned it yourself, Rob, we couldn't see a more logical conclusion than to bring the 2 leagues together at one point in time. Can I just ask though, because I just want to put something to bed potentially, in terms of inter-club, inter-league relationships between promoters and club owners. Can I ask the question, is that as harmonious as we would all wish it to be, or might there be some friction between the 2 divisions, Rob? And did that get in the way in any sense of actually coming together?
Listen, I think that there's absolutely harmonious. I mean, we're all in it together. There's no question. There's 14 clubs, and we're all in it together. Had we known that TNT were not going to renew earlier in the season, then it would have been a good possibility that it would have been 1 league. A more better possibility of being 1 league. Because it came so late, it just made it even more difficult. Mandate going forward is that we all need to have a conversation around about May time this next year, and if Futures isn't going to, but we all believe it is, then we do need to talk about 1 league for the year after, because putting it together is not easy as you think. It's the level that you can all pitch at, and then obviously there'll be some clubs that don't want to go down to probably the level that you're going to have to go down to. But I think that I don't think that's going to come. I think the future is positive with futures. Let's say.
That sounds like a tagline, Rob.
Yes.
Take some use out of that. That's it's interesting. Can you give us, Rob? I know you are an owner. Club owner, promoter of a championship club. Can you give some of the 360 viewers some insight, some understanding into perhaps some of the rationale of Premiership clubs who might be hugely resistant to dropping down, as they would see it? The reason I ask that question is, Rob, because, and you've touched on it already, the cost operating model, as we understand it as supporters, appears to be it doesn't appear to be strong and logical in many ways, and it almost seems like the easier thing to do and the more sustainable thing to do would be to merge and reduce the standard if that's how certain Premiership clubs see it. But why the doggedness, Rob, as you understand it, to resist?
They're not dogging it. They're absolutely not dogging it. That's the word you use. But no, not at all. It literally was timing, and literally, most of them would drop down to a championship type level, which have to be level that. But it really was timing, and the fact that Futures is gathering traction. It's just quite as simple as that. There's no resistance really that. In the end, if that's the only option going forward, everyone would be into 1 league. I'm 99% positive of that. So, as I say, it's just It was timing this for this last year. But as I said, with things that are happening behind the scene, I just pray that there's two things happening, and they're going to be so positive that you guys are going to want me back on and say, "Wow, I'm glad you came on." And that positivity was wow, because it's wow. There's some wow things happening behind the scenes, and literally weeks away, a week or 2 weeks away from happening. And there's some people, and I've got to give full credit to Phil Morrissey, working tireless behind the scenes to make things happening. Without Phil, British Speedway would not be in as good a place as it is now, because he's got credibility and everything, and his passion is for British Speedway. So just wait and see. Just wait and see. Trust me on this one. And listen, if you don't come off, you can put the knives in my bag. But I'm 99% one was going to come off, and I'm 90% the other one's going to come off. So when they do come off, it's happy days.
Well, listen, and we all want these things to come off. I know we don't know what they are, but we all want them to come off because, some supporters think that maybe British Speedway has missed an opportunity this winter to consolidate and provide a baseline to move forward more robustly from. But hopefully, Rob, if Futures, etc., delivers, as you're indicating that they hopefully will, then we will never look back from this point, right? That's the whole aspiration.
Well, that's everyone's goal. I mean, that's all we can really hang the future on, because you want independence, you're going to get it. We want investment, we're going to get it. I'm saying we're going to get it. We're looking to get it. It's the golden goose. It's the golden goose, and the people that are involved with Futures are not Simon Lambert and Rob Godfrey. They are professional people that do this for a living. So we've got some serious people behind us at this point. We just hope and pray they deliver, and we need to give them as much backing as we possibly can.
Excellent. It's really encouraging, and obviously the whole Speedway family will watch with interest and look out for some signs of this. Rob, if it's not repeating some of the things that we've spoken about already, can you off the top of your head, can you call out maybe the top 2 or the top 3 issues that you would most urgently want to repair in British Speedway?
Well, I like more people through the gate. That's the top one. That's the simplest thing. Definitely need to attract more younger supporters. Certainly at Scunthorpe, we brought David Howe's daughter on, who's growing into a social media role, which is attracting the younger people. So we watched what Plymouth did last year. Plymouth were whatever they did, and we've sort of found out what he's done. We're all trying to emulate that. We're trying to keep up with the youngsters and social media and getting people into Speedway. So that's the first thing, really, is more people and more interaction on social media, the TikTok and everything else. Second thing, what else? Slow the bikes down for me. Slow the bikes down. Let's make the sport more cheaper to get into. Let's make it more cheaper to run. That's definitely something that an FIM level is now being looked at, which is very encouraging. What's the third thing? More tracks. Simply as that. More tracks.
Yes. Yeah, and those 3 things that you've identified, Robin, and I would, for what it's worth, I would agree with them largely. But the marketing appeal and growing crowds, the slowing the bikes down, the technical element of the sport, and growing the number of tracks. I mean, are there? Without getting necessarily into the detail, are there plans, are there actions in place that will address each of those things?
Yeah, I mean, you might see one in the next couple of weeks, but yeah, definitely. And I'd say social media-wise, app-wise, we're on with an app through Futures at the minute, bringing the Speedway app out, and Plymouth's leading again. He's brought his own app out, which is fantastic. Got to give him credit for that. we only have a certain amount of budget to spend on social media, but we have a great team with David Rowan, his people that he employs, and we do the best we can. But futures once again will take us to a new level. That's I know that for some of the people they're talking to now, that's what their specialities are, and they will come on board and take us to where we need to be. Lots and lots of things. Yeah, I could name lots of things that you trigger a word there, and I could. But yeah,
Come on, man, tell us.
Well, no, it's about, there is a desire. There's a desire to do like a Drive to Survive thing with Speedway, and the potential that could come off with Speedway riders. There's similar things to happen there, and going out on YouTube channels and getting traction that way. And there's a lot more we can do, but it's we have to get futures on board and investors on board and it is part of growing the sport. So these things will happen.
Those of you watching and listening out there, I hope you're enjoying the discussion with Rod Godfrey. Regardless of how you are watching or listening, please do hit that little thumbs up button below and comment as well. It helps push out 360 Speedway and all our output into the YouTube stratosphere. Listen, stay with us. Part 2 will auto start in just a couple of minutes, in fact less than 30 seconds, and we'll be asking lots more tough questions to Rob Godfrey.